then went on to work for Apple and founded iTunes Europe with Steve Jobs. And we've got to bring that back. Teachers love it. Head teachers love it.
So, do you want to explain
Yeah.
what this is and your inspiration behind it?
And so my inspiration comes from traveling. My inspiration comes from looking at beautiful buildings, from nature.
Curious Conversations.
For the first episode of Curious Conversations, I'm thrilled to be joined by an award-winning serial entrepreneur and innovator, a restaurateur, surfer, I found out, DJ, best-selling author, board member of numerous social finance organisations, and currently chief executive of the Institute of Imagination. So welcome to Curious Conversations, Martin Alice Morales.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, why you have a passion for creativity, curiosity and innovation?
Well, I grew up in Peru in South America as a child. We witnessed some pretty challenging things growing up in terrorism and seeing a lot of inequality, particularly through my family, my Peruvian family, as a child. And so that in a way broke my heart. But it's kind of coming from that background that makes you sort of wonder what else is out there. How can you move forward? How can you make progress? How can you think differently? How can you think laterally and think in opposites, as to the environment that you might be in. I came to this country when I was 11. My father was British, so half my family is British, half my family is Peruvian. And I've had a career and a journey that has involved creativity and innovation and imagination and the arts and all kinds of things throughout my life, mainly out of the curiosity that I had. I was curious to find out more about music. Mm-hmm. I love music, not just British or American music, but music from around the world. I came from Peru, and we've got a rich cultural heritage. So I first worked in the music industry, and started to make tea in a record company, and then after a few years, I was running a record company, and then I was promoting club nights, and concerts and DJing all over the world, and then that led me to being a good marketeer and understanding digital marketing. And the music industry was one of the first to really adopt digital marketing because it was one of the first to be hit by the internet and by piracy through Napster, for example. Mm-hmm. So we started to be digital marketeers and started to work on digital platforms. And I then went on to work for Apple and founded iTunes Europe with Steve Jobs and the rest of the team. There was only 5 of us actually that started that. And then through that, after a few years, I was headhunted by Disney to start to run their music business in Europe, and then went on to be a restaurateur. But all through that trajectory, creativity was part of my work. Yes, I had skills in leadership, skills in marketing, skills in people management, but and in sales and all kinds of things. But it's creativity that ran through the whole of that career, which then took me to being a restaurateur, running an art gallery, running a record company, and running charities. All through, I've been a trustee, and I've been a non-exec director at different charities, in education, in social finance, as you said before, in health, and in inequalities. And I'm blessed to be at the Institute of Imagination, where we treasure and we champion imagination and creativity.
Brilliant. So we'll touch on some of those when we come through some of the questions. But one of the things we like to do when we start this podcast is complete a fun, hands-on activity. So this Institute of Imagination, you're all about Lego. So hopefully this will be a walk in the park for you. So what we'd like you to do in the next few minutes is to create something that represents your curiosity with Lego.
Great. Fantastic.
So create whatever you want.
Yeah.
Open up, have a go.
Great. Amazing. I love this. Yeah, Lego is one of our main partners, so we're very blessed to have them as a partner. And actually, Lego was one of the main tools and toys that I had as a kid growing up. I always wanted Matchbox cars. I always wanted Star Wars figures, but actually my dad was like, no, buy some Lego. We're going to buy you some Lego. So Lego is definitely up there with me in my childhood and continues to be. I think anyone can play and make
Do you still play with Lego now?
Things. Yeah, absolutely. And I've got kids, so
Yeah.
through that process, it brought me back to making and playing with Lego. So yeah, no, I really
I
like
think
that.
it's interesting. We've done social experiments in the office where we've put Lego in for people who haven't seen it in 30 odd years,
Yeah.
and they don't do anything with it until they start playing with it, and then suddenly people's creativity is part of the Lego serious play, about using the creativity to create something that using your hands instead of just talking about things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Lego is a great way to learning through play as well.
Yep.
You learn different types of skills. You know, there's a lot of curiosity going on with what's going on right now. I'm testing, I'm iterating, I'm sort of experimenting. I'm like, why did I put that there? You know, I had a vague idea.
Yeah.
You know, although we didn't set set the space and the time and the place too much, but I just cracked on, and that was all right as well. I was thrown in at the deep end, and there I went. But I was like, where can this go? But I thought, let's do something around growth, around scaling, around reaching out. But then I found this, and I was like, I like that. So I got to put it in there to add more color and to add more suspense. And so, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's really interesting.
That's half the fun, isn't it? And that's why we do it we don't tell anybody about it, and it's there to show the power of play and just messing about. And
and the power of play is the name of our main program, actually.
Well, there you
go. In the borough of Tower Hamlets, one of the most deprived boroughs, and it's key to what we do. So it's a blessing. But
that's a partnership with Lego, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. That's we're in the second year. We're a consortium lead in the power of play. And we've got fantastic other partners, Save the Children, Easy Peasy, this amazing app for parents. We've got Ambition, Aspire, Achieve, which is a charity that work particularly with children with special educational needs, and we've got the Young V&A, which is an amazing venue in East London. So with those partners, really working on a holistic, systemic approach to learning through play and bringing that to children in the borough is essential, because children need play. Children through play they find new ways of learning, new ways of experimenting. Right now, again, as I said, I don't know what I'm doing. Things are falling apart, but you're allowing me to experiment. You're giving me a safe space to try something out. And in life, that's really hard. As we get older, whether it's it's 8 years old or 18 years old or 25-year-olds, we're bound by more restrictions and more sort of formats of how we should behave, and taking risks becomes harder and harder.
And failure is a bad word.
But right now, I know from your smile and from this kind invitation that you won't be upset.
No.
That whatever I build will be either amazing or a load of nonsense. But I don't care, because I'm having fun anyway. I don't know where I'm going with this.
So and
I'm not the greatest builder in Lego, but
that's right. Well, we'll forgive you for this one time.
No, but
So with the stuff you're doing with Tower Hamlets at the moment, is that something that you think can roll out to other London boroughs, nationally?
I think we. Lego did a key research around which areas we should be working in, around what we should be doing and how we should be approaching this, and that's a really fantastic way for companies to really understand how they can create proper social impact through education, through learning. The education system is challenged right now. We've got a system that is really built on attainment and exams, meeting the best results possible, and sadly, with that kind of pressure on teachers that Ofsted put, sadly teachers are just more and more, because time is limited and more pressures are on them. They're just going through the sort of memory-based learning, and so all that amazing work that was done years ago around learning through play, around project-based learning, around using creativity and imagination and a creative approach to learning, is disappearing, and we've got to bring that back. Teachers love it. Head teachers love it, because teachers are even happier if they can use that approach. And children absolutely love it, especially if you involve making and doing and playing and all these things that make children happier, make them more active, and bring their different characters out. Because we sort of think that there's at least 30% that are very good with memories-based learning, but then there's another 30% that, and there's another half of the remainder that is okay with it, but doesn't quite fit in, and they would need more, not more support, but they need to be inspired more. And there's a final group of children that just really don't learn like that. It's not just children with special educational needs. It's children that, they want to be inspired even more. So we've got to make sure that our education system is inclusive. Yeah. And that's the point of learning through play. That's the point of the program of the power of play in Tower Hamlets with Lego and with all our different partners. Yeah.
It's definitely something, probably as me reflecting on how I learnt going through school, I think now I'm more of a visual, hands-on learner than actually listen to somebody talk at me.
Look, and we are also in the workplace. We're living through a different time now. As leaders, and I've been a CEO for 15 years in different types of organizations, fancy big corporates, and my own social enterprise that was a restaurants business, Ceviche, and also here at the Institute of Imagination. The days are gone when you go top down. Yes, there's a big loud noise at the other side of the Atlantic right now. We know that. But the rest of us sort of think, actually, that's not how to motivate people. To motivate people is create safe spaces, to take risks, to be inventive, to be creative, to imagine new things, create spaces, create reward systems, create support. As you said before, that's moving away from treating risk and failure as something wrong. Actually, it's part of the learning process. And actually it builds capacity. Actually, it builds resilience towards big problems, towards which we will always encounter. So it's an exciting time if you can learn how to approach leadership from the bottom up rather than from the top down. I've made those mistakes. In the old days, they used to teach us, go from top down. No, the employee, the team member wants to feel supported. They want to shine. They want to sort of wander and really experiment and imagine, and they want to grow through in that way.
So, have you finished? Almost?
No. What I've tried to do, no.
Let me just have a look. Just move this out of the way.
I don't know. This is what
if you stick it on the top. So, do you want to explain what this is and your inspiration behind it?
Yeah. So, there was no plan.
No.
So I was thrown in at a deep end. There was no strategy. But what I've created, thanks to you and this conversation so far, is something that I think is really colourful. It's quite abstract. It's got different places. You could think that this is the beginning of thinking of a town or a city or a group of streets where there's different people and there's different bits of nature. There's a lot of colour, so there's a lot of positivity. You could think of a rainbow. You could think of different opinions. That's what these colours could represent.
Looks like an aeroplane.
Looks like an aeroplane, definitely.
Yeah. It's got a question mark on it.
Looks like a certain terrestrial TV channels
it does,
logo and how they're formed in that little advert that they have. And it's a lot of fun. I'm quite happy with that.
Brilliant.
And it's stick together.
Well done, Right. So if you want to add to it as we go through, that's fine. So
thank you.
Right. We'll start on a couple of questions. So as I mentioned earlier, you're a serial entrepreneur, and throughout your career, you've had various opportunities to work in the music industry, food, sustainability, social enterprise we talked about later. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face when trying to innovate?
Scaling. Scaling innovation is really challenging. Taking something from here to there. What's the resources? Who's got, who thinks in old ways? So moving from creativity to practicality, that resistance to change. as well is a big challenge. When you're set in your own ways, or when a person, a company, a place is set in their own ways, and there's that resistance, that's difficult.
Yeah.
It's good to have that resistance.
Yeah.
That resistance helps in risk management, and we're all in the risk management business as parents, as leaders, as employees, as human beings trying to navigate this challenging world. But we also need to have, to be able to be open-minded. I always say, as an entrepreneur, you need to sort of, the entrepreneurial journey is about going into the dark room where that you have to have faith that there's a door on the other side, but you've got to walk through it and find your way out. So that takes a risk. You don't know if there's any holes in that room.
Yep.
You don't know if there's any places you might fall out of, but you can't be too resistant to that. You've got to let go. You've got to open up and think and be positive about what will happen. So resistance to change and scaling ideas.
Yep.
And I think the big challenges are finding the right people that have that mindset.
Yep.
But I think everyone is capable of that mindset. I think we are all creative, actually. Of course we are, because we all have to find solutions for things. For me, it's always about, so how broad are you going to go with your solutions? And as a person who's lived in conflict, I know that I had to think really hard about solutions and find many more solutions. Keep curious and ask people about what their solutions might be, so that I can be influenced by that, and then just listen and get that back, and then pick the best answer out of that.
I do think it's probably, as we talked about earlier, I think it's probably it's worked out of us. So as a child, when a child is growing up, they learn by repetition, by failure. They fall over, they get back up again, they try different words and things. And as we grow older, as we go through the education system, like you said earlier, you go into corporate world, it's failure is a bad thing and you can't learn. But actually the people who do innovate, particularly in a corporate world, do it in their spare time because they are curious, actually. And it's quite a good getting those people and finding those people and opening up, which is one of the things we're trying to do with our Curious Minds program, is effectively opening up the possibility for people to be curious.
Yeah, well, what do we start with? We start with being born, right?
Yep.
And we're sitting here as, whatever age we are.
Quite
but
often,
we start with being born.
Yep.
And so what happens through that life state, those stages of life? As you said, creativity, play, they're all slightly taken away from us. By different systems that are in place, different challenges in the home, out of the home. We can't just blame it on the education system, and there are real hardships some people have, and we see them. We work as the Institute of Imagination. We worked with the most disadvantaged children and communities and families in the UK. So we try and think of that the life of a child and where they're interacting. And in fact, recently I was asked to be a commissioner for play. We're working on the National Play Commission, run by the Centre for Young Lives and started by Paul Lindley, who's a social entrepreneur in his own right. He's our chair. And so Raising the Nation, the National Play Commission, is publishing a report at the beginning of June, on June the 11th, on International Day of Play. Which is all about the importance of play. Why? Because, and I link play to play, helps build the imagination. Imagination helps build creativity. Creativity helps build innovation, and that helps resolve new ideas, create new ideas. They could be world-changing new ideas that will save us and that will inspire us and help us live better lives and living beings on this planet. But they could also be the ideas that you have and the solutions that you find for your everyday problems. And that could be for a 7-year-old or a 70-year-old. Yep. And so, but right now, yes, in different environments. For example, no ball games. No ball games. You smile. Yeah. But it's quite a nasty thing, isn't it? It's quite an aggressive thing. It's saying to young people, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't play. You shouldn't play with a ball. It's not giving a solution. It's not telling you next to it, actually do this, or telling you this is where you should go. So why can't we just get rid of those those no ball game signs. What's happening in schools as well? Playtime has diminished over the last 15 years.
Yep.
What's happening in our planning of our environments? There are less safe roads. There are less open spaces. There are less playgrounds. And of course, places where people gather from a very early age, Sure Start, for example, have been disappearing. They're almost completely obliterated. So all these things are acting against a culture that puts down, in a way, the rights of a child, full stop. Not just the rights of a child to play, but the rights of a child to thrive in this world and achieve their best potential. That's what we strive for as a charity that I run, but also that's what we strive for as the National Play Commission. So if we're going to have innovation, and I'm talking about people in business, people in the world of work, and whatever level they are, we need those people to have that resilience to wake up every day and do amazing things, to collaborate, to communicate, to be curious, to be compassionate, to be civil. Now, all these skills our late patron Sir Ken Robinson talked about, and that these competencies. That's what we work on at the Institute of Imagination. And we think it's vital for children, particularly in that young age, that 5 to 11-year-old, when their minds are shaping up, when they're dreaming of what they might be in the future, but some of them think, no way, I'm going to stay where I am. And that's all I'm going to achieve because that's what I'm being told. Yeah. That's not fair.
No, definitely not. So you've had we'll go on to the next question. So we've mentioned you've had a pretty amazing life and done some really interesting things. You've had a lot of career pivots. You obviously grew up in Peru, moved to the UK when you were 11. So have you got any stories or anything about a person or event that significantly inspired you and your journey?
I'm always... there was a lot of luck that I had as a child, and I'm grateful to my parents. But I also, as I said, I saw a lot of inequality from a very young age, and that will never leave me. And I experienced that myself as well. I came to this country and I suffered from racism the first year that I came, age 11, in a school that today, still 40 years later, suffers from racism. And it's written in the Ofsted report. So that breaks my heart, and that's why I do what I do as well. So the people that most inspire me sometimes are very ordinary people. I grew up watching children in Peru in the streets selling sweets. Now, when I came to this country, they told me there was this wonderful entrepreneur called Richard Branson. I think he's amazing, right? But he had certain privileges and he could make mistakes. He had the space. He had the luck. These children haven't. But yet they're entrepreneurs as well.
I was going to say, they sound entrepreneurial, going out selling sweets.
They shouldn't be doing that because they're children, but they are entrepreneurs as well. So why can't we give them the credit for that? Why can't we support them as much as, people backed Richard? And so they inspire me. It breaks my heart, and I don't want to see them on the street. I want them to have a childhood where they can play and experiment and feel love and be safe. But they inspire me so that I can do my work to help change their world. Another social entrepreneur that I admire hugely is Lord John Bird. The first big major social entrepreneur that founded the Big Issue. I'm blessed to have been chosen to be a non-exec director at a Big Issue Invest, which is an incredible organization, and we help social enterprises and other organizations, including charities, with social finance, with loans, low interest loans, with equity, fair equity, not cheeky, let's grab everything equity, with patient capital, with different mechanisms and grants as well. So, and we help these organizations that usually banks say no to them, usually other organizations, finance organizations say no. But these organizations are essential, not just for people and planet and people in difficult situations, but also essential for all of us. We all want to live in a safer world, in a world where there is equality, where our neighbours, whatever their income is, whatever the situation is, are treated fairly, because that will make our life more enriched. So Lord John Bird is a real inspiration. And there's many others. I've been blessed in the music industry to work with some great musicians like Katie Tunstall, who I knew from the very beginning was going to be really inspiring, because that's all she knew how to do: write great songs, sing great music, And I said to my boss at the time, let's sign her. She's going to be an unstoppable train because this is what she does and it's in her blood and she'll always do that. And we did, and she's become a superstar. And last but not...
So on that Katie Tunstall one, so is it in terms of the music industry, is it sort of going off script a little bit, but is it through a gut instinct or something you see, a trait in them? Like we talked about the children who are entrepreneurs because they're going out selling sweets. Is it a trait you see in them, or is it...
It's easy. When something surprises you and makes you smile and makes you feel like, ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Or interesting or curious.
Like Lego?
Yeah. Or, well, like Lego.
Yeah.
But also, check this out. Right?
Yeah.
It's quite crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's fun, right?
Yep.
It's not boring, I don't think. So when that happens, there's something there.
Yeah.
And there's something very human about it. There's something that you as the receiver of that information take from it. So when I sort of first met Katie, I sort of went to see her play live, and I thought, God, she's got a beautiful voice. God, those songs are great. I sat down with her. She revealed that she had written or co-written 120 songs.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, let me listen to these. And I thought, immediately after hearing those 120 songs, I thought, there's 3 albums ready to be released. So I thought, God, I felt like a kid in a China, in a sweet shop, ready to sort of work with this person and just craft and choose the best songs for their first album. And that's how Suddenly I See came on. That's how The Other Side of the World and all these amazing songs went on that first album, which I helped, which I executive produced and A&R'd and launched.
That's super. So, obviously, one of the things that we've talked about already is through your career, you've had a number of different career pivots. Obviously, you've changed industries several times. So, is there been a time that we've had where inspiration struck unexpectedly? So, I suppose the Katie Tunstall one is obviously you listened to it and went, ta-ding, there's something here. Is there any other?
Yeah, there's many moments of inspiration for me. Sometimes it happens with people I meet. You know, the other day I was invited to a breakfast with the new owners of the Observer newspaper, that's Tortoise Media, and they said, Martin, come to this breakfast. We've got a speaker there. His name's Thomas Heatherwick. And I thought, wow, Thomas Heatherwick, what an amazing architect, what an amazing creative. And luckily, Thomas has actually been instrumental in the Institute of Imagination. He helped us conceive the name and really think of what we're about. And in fact, he's worked on initial plans for a venue that we wanted to create a while ago, and hopefully will create in future for children and families to play. And he talked a lot about, and in his new book, Humanized, he talked a lot about, making buildings beautiful, making the aesthetics and the outside beautiful, making that attractive. Talked about buildings that not just make people inside of the building and not just make the landlords and the people involved with the money side of it happy, but the whole community outside. And if we think of those great buildings, and he mentioned one of my favorite, La Pedrera in Barcelona, created and built by Antoni Gaudi. It's just exceptional. I mean, it just brings a smile to your face. So I think that's what he's been trying to create, not just in buildings, but in different projects that he's been working on. But yeah, those people inspire me. Those people that can create something out of thinking differently, out of wanting to share the beauty of something, not just for themselves with strict boundaries, but also just push the envelope.
Yeah.
And so my inspiration comes from traveling. My inspiration comes from looking at beautiful buildings, from nature. Nature is the goddess of inspiration, and why not? When you can understand and feel how magical the sun is, and the sky and rain that falls that feeds the plants that grow, and see how wonderful and how unique every plant is, that can be so inspiring.
So one of the questions I did have actually is, so for our listeners, there are some ways that when you lose inspiration, when you lose creativity, how do you rekindle that when it wanes?
Yeah, you have to you have to really look within yourself. You have to really understand what your purpose and your values are. You have to really sort of find other people that can inspire you, find other places, change the scene, read different publications, go outside your box. You know, once in a while, for example, I go to a newsagent and I buy an old-fashioned magazine, but I buy it in a sector that I've never heard of.
Yep.
You know, there's some amazing fanzines and journals from different sectors that you never knew anything about. But I'll tell you what, you open that up and it'll be really great fun. If you're in business, you buy the grocer, you know, not just because you're in supermarkets, but because you want to know what people are buying and what they're doing. You know, and so, you know, getting outside of your own sector, of your own interest groups, trying new things. So I'm always really curious at the weekends. We've got loads of time. So I spend my time looking for courses and away days for myself that are just really great fun. I recently did a clowning course.
Oh, very good.
A year ago, I did a stand-up comedy course. I thought, oh, that'll push me.
Have you got any jokes?
No, I'm rubbish. I'm rubbish. But I learned the craft. I know what it's like round the back of it. So I enjoy comedy. But let's look at what's under the bonnet of what makes these people tick and how their craft is made. I'm really excited about that creative process.
Yeah.
I enjoy going to meditation, and I know that's a hip thing, but finding the space and creating the silence for things to drop rather than really pushing upwards, you know, like, oh, I need this. It's like, and finding it is really difficult.
Often when you don't think about things is when you get those ideas, or you see something, you read something, when you least expect it. And I think it's just being cognizant of that, actually, like you said, getting inspiration from different things, going out, meeting different people. We're meeting today, and actually there's things going around in my head at the moment going, oh, that's an interesting idea, and I didn't think about that. So it's interesting that I do meditation as well, and it is quite a nice way of calming the mind down, and then suddenly you start getting like little things dropping you to...
That's it. You know, boredom is a fabulous thing. And, you know, in today's society, we're losing more and more of it because the noise is becoming much bigger. Yeah. But just going back to your original question, you know, in the world of work, you know, working with different types of people, you know, cross-collaborating with different departments, working with different people from different age groups, bringing people from outside, doing workshops, doing hackathons, doing sort of creative sessions.
Yep.
You know, we do that with companies. We do, you know, we facilitate big creative hackathon, workshops, growing people's creative thinking skills. So, but how do you do that with your own team? You can. Everyone is quite different, and there's only and everyone's got circles of people around them that can also be drawn in for, you know, to bring that inspiration back.
And do you help to encourage your employees to fail safe in an environment where obviously you're trying to get them to be creative, be innovative? Do you allow them to fail effectively? Encourage it? Yeah,
well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I as I said, I'm a compassionate leader. I hope people would say that. I'm a servant leader. I believe in servant leadership. I believe in bottom up, so empowering team members. Yes, there are moments where one has to make the final decision, but I love listening to opinions. I love having my own opinion, and I love having it challenged. I love my opinions. If somebody else is coming up with something different and better and new than what I've thought, and you know, 99 times out of 100 that will happen. And that's great. So all we're there to do is just to steer a little bit, but also to create safe environments for that failure to take place.
Brilliant. So is there anything in particular? I know we've covered a couple of things that you're doing in Institute of Imagination at the moment, but are there any exciting projects that you're currently working on that you want to tell the audience?
Well, I've mentioned the power of play in Tower Hamlets. You know, we would love to grow that outside of Tower Hamlets and grow that within Tower Hamlets. that's working really, really well. There's a teacher training program that we're working on that I think is also around growing creative thinking skills for teachers, essential so that they have that, so that they can kind of work with more children to bring that creative learning approach to their sort of schoolwork. And we are looking ahead. We're looking ahead to create a festival next year. A festival that brings play, creativity, imagination. A festival that might be a 4-day festival or a 5-day festival in a particular location, probably in the south of England, probably in London. And we're looking for partners. We're looking for partners that are excited about doing that. That maybe they want a section there to work with us on this sort of pedagogy, this sort of learning way of us, entertaining people and presenting this approach to a memorable experience with parents, carers, with teenagers, with children, from 3 to 30.
So how can people find out a bit more about that, or do they go onto your website? Is there?
Yeah, if the festival that we're working on, hopefully we'll be working on in the summer next year. Please get in touch. My name is Martin, martin@ioi.london. Go onto our website, see the different programs that we're doing. We're looking all the time for great partnerships, like the one we've got with you here, like the one we've got with Lego, with companies like Accenture and Chanel. But we're a small charity. We're a small community-based charity that punches above our weight with a very small team, with a really good group of volunteers that we treasure and we're really grateful for. And so we need support. What we do is changing children's lives. It's changing parents' lives. It's changing communities. It really, really is. It's not completely easy to understand, and people think, oh, imagination is just that fluffy thing. It's not. It's a life skill. Creativity. It comes to some people and not to others. That's not true. All children deserve that moment to play, to be creative, to find their own solutions. So we're equipping those children so they are ready for the future of work through STEM or STEAM creative programs. So please get in touch. That festival is coming up, and there's a few other programs that are on our website as well. That's ioi.london.
Lovely, that's great. So what we'd like to do as a thank you for you coming along, spending time today, is really to donate some money to charity. So is there a particular charity you'd like to donate money to, and why have you chosen them?
Well, I've got to say the one I work at. It helps our work. We are human beings. We get a small, salary and wage, etc. We need funding to grow our work, and it's essential work. Last year we reached 17,000 children with a small team of 10 people. Imagine that. How can we do that? We use technology, we use AI, but we also use in-person learning experiences, in-person work, hands-on work. And that's the most valuable, and that can't be done completely for free. So those partnerships that we nurture with companies like yours, where we can offer, potentially by being a partner with us, where we can offer employee engagement programs, just real great activities for employees to be involved in, as where we can offer, creative workshops for their employees, where we can offer opportunities to say, hey, we've got a network of 200 schools we can work with. Maybe there's marketing opportunities for your company for those communities as well. So all of this is enriching. So yes, the Institute of Imagination. Thank you for supporting us.
No problem. Thank you, Martin, for your time today. It's been really inspirational. Heard some great stuff around your story, the Institute of Imagination as well. And to our listeners, thank you for your time today. Hope to stay curious, creative, and hope to see you on the next episode.
Curious Conversations.